Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for RPI Cloud Suite V11 Tech Talk demonstration on CSF AP automation. I'm Sherry Nettles. I'm a senior financials consultant with RPI Consultants, and I'm really excited you could join us. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mason Auk, who will be joining me for this demonstration.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mason Auk. I am a business analyst here with RPI Consultants, specifically within the content process automation. I'm very excited to show this opportunity off to you guys today. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. We're going to go through 4 steps. Step 1 is going to be invoice capture. So we're going to be bringing invoices into Kofax ReadSoft Online. We're then going to validate and show the data capture off with Kofax ReadSoft Online. We'll then go ahead and process that invoice within Cloud Suite Financials. And finally, we'll also show off the approval process as well. Kind of a little bit more of kind of a diagram of where we're going to be going. We'll have that invoice capture with Kofax ReadSoft Online, the data capture, which is what's going to take data directly off that image. We'll then do some exceptions and workflow. Then typically we'll go over to approval routing. So this is where our approver notifications and escalations are going to be. And this is within Infor's Cloud Suite Financials. And then finally, all of our content is going to be archived within Infor document management. So that way we can always pull back that invoice image whenever we need and be able to see all of the information with that invoice as well. And with that, let's go ahead and jump immediately into the software here. So what I'm going to pull up here is this is Cloud Suite Financials. This is specifically underneath the Payables Manager role. And Sherry will go into a little bit more with the Cloud Suite stuff here in a little bit. But what I want to show you guys is we've actually gone ahead and we have added this button here called RSO. And when we click on this button from Cloud Suite Financials, it will immediately log us in to Kofax ReadSoft Online. So just continually increasing the single platform use. So be able to log into Cloud Suite and then be able to go directly to ReadSoft Online. So what we're going to do is we can see that we have one invoice here that's gone through the capture process. There are 4 main ways to go through capturing. The first way is through actual email submission. So when you submit an email with an attachment, it'll be grabbed and brought into ReadSoft Online. We have the actual manual upload using this upload feature here. We have a scanning feature. So when you scan invoices in, so these are typically if you've received them from the mail, taking those, scanning them, and then bringing them into the system. And the final route is also faxing as well. If we still need to support kind of the legacy fax, we can make sure that we have solutions that work for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up this first invoice here. We can see our beautiful invoice image is brought over. This one specifically was emailed. So it came in through an email. RSO grabbed it from there and brought it into the system. So what we can see over here on this right-hand side, though, is it's actually gone and it's read this image here and it has pulled data off of that image. And this is the data that's going to be brought directly into your guys' ERP system Infor Cloud Suite Financials. What we can see here is that we have multiple fields that have the green arrows next to them. The green checkboxes. The green checkboxes mean that ReadSoft Online had a high confidence that it extracted the correct data. And if we actually click on any of this, it can actually highlight exactly where it pulled that data from. So you can see that when I click on that invoice date, it says right here is where I grabbed that. We can see that there are 3 fields here that have the yellow kind of caution box next to them. And that's either because 1, it doesn't have data, or 2, it wasn't 100% sure on that data. For both, for these examples, we have that it actually was not able to get the data. So to enter this data, we can actually just type the data in, or we can actually come over here and we can actually highlight directly on the invoice image like that. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring that data directly from the invoice image into our field over here. And we can see that it even does the correct formatting for us as well. So we don't need to worry about that. The next field it wants us to check is POs. This is a non-PO invoice. So all we're going to do here is we're going to press enter. It's wanting us to make sure that we want to ignore this error and set the field status to complete, and that is correct. And then finally, it wants us to enter our routing category. Our routing category is going to be extremely important when we go into Cloud Suite financials. Typically, our routing categories are built off of the company and then also the department number. So for this one, I know that our company number is 10, and we can see that it brings up 2 routing categories immediately for me. If I didn't know the company number, and let's say I was just looking to send this to surgery, I can start typing surgery, and we can see that it even looks up and it finds it off of that information as well. One thing I want to point out before I click on this, though, is our OK button down here. So we can see that this OK button is kind of a light green color, and it's not the bright green color to submit yet. To submit this, we actually need to validate our last field. So once I select this last routing category and press enter, we can see that we have greens on all of these fields, and we can see that that green button is now, instead of the dim green color, it's now a much brighter green color. And what that means is that this invoice is ready to be submitted to Cloud Suite Financials. So by pressing OK here, it will bring us back out to our list. We see that there are no more invoices in our list, which is good. We want to try to work through as many of these invoices as possible and get them into Cloud Suite Financials as quickly as possible. So we can see that it's in progress and the document export is in progress. We're now going to have a software that will come through, grab that invoice for us, format it, and do specific web calls to Infor to go ahead and bring it into Infor. I'm now going to go ahead and hand over my presenter over to Sherry, so Sherry can show you guys the Cloud Suite Financials portion.
Thank you, Mason. So in this case, I'm actually logged into the application as the Payables Manager role. The entire Cloud Suite application is a role-based application, so I can just simply log into my role. The really neat thing is I come up here with a landing page, which as a Payables Manager presents all this beautiful information for me right here on a nice dashboard. I love this feature of the software. It's quite an improvement over V10 and the lower versions of the application. Because all this information before, I used to have to run an individual report just to get each of these individual pie charts. And now I can see all of this right on my landing page. So from here to get to our invoices, I'm just going to select the menu option that says Manage Invoices. That's going to take me to my invoice panels. So in lower versions, we remember we had to go to a lot of different screens and we had to remember a lot of different form numbers. Now we have panels that are literally in a tab fashion across the top of our screen that show us every single invoice that's in every single kind of status. Where we're going to go today is the unsubmitted panel, which is where all of our Kofax RSO invoices are going to reside. The invoice that Mason just showed us that was processed out of Kofax RSO is the Cities of Fountain cleaning invoice. So to pull that up and review it, we're just going to double click it. This is going to open the invoice on our page. And this is going to be just a quick review of the invoice. We don't need to do a lot of, anything really on this invoice. We're not doing any keying. We're just doing a quick review. So you will notice out of the gate here, we see a red error message on the top right of the screen, which we don't need to be alarmed by because the way we designed our AP approval processes, we have our first level approver actually doing the invoice coding for us, which is great because it takes that away from the AP department because they shouldn't be coding invoices anyway. So that's a great thing. Another feature we want to point out is our Yoga connector was able to create our tax distribution line automatically for us in the application. This is huge. This was something before that an AP processor would have to manually key. This is now brought in automatically for us, which is a great feature. So I'm going to just click back on my main tab. I'm going to do just a quick review. I see all my information's in place. I'm going to simply click on the Submit for Approval action at the top of my screen, which is going to go ahead and submit this for approval. I first am prompted with a box here. When I do my Submit for Approval, it's going to bring up a dialog box where I can enter a comment if I'd like to for the approver. So if this particular invoice is a rush, we need to get these people paid quickly, we can say something like, this is a rush. And we can go ahead and submit that for approval. It's going to come up with one more question that says, are you sure this has a total distribution error on it? Are you sure you want to proceed? We're going to say yes, okay. This is going to go ahead and send this. I get a nice dialog box in the upper right that says submit for approval completed successfully. So this is going to go to my first level approver. So in this case, what Mason and I set up for you guys is a 3-level approver structure. We can design anything that your company would need, any type of levels you need, any dollar thresholds. We can design all of that according to your company's needs. So in this case, our first level approver in our structure we designed is a $500 threshold. So because our invoice is over that dollar amount, it's going to go through 2 levels of approval. So what we want to show you next is we actually assigned ourselves as the approvers, so we can show you that approval process. The approvers will get an email notification. So if I go over to my email, I can come over here and I'm going to look in, it goes to my other, and I get an email here that says, hey, approver, you have an invoice for City of Fountains cleaning. It's been submitted for your approval, so please review immediately. These email notifications can be customized to say anything you want them to say. My comment appears that I put in that says, this is a rush, so get on it. I have a hyperlink here where me as the approver can click on that hyperlink to go in and approve the invoice, but we'd like to show you another avenue as well. If I'm an approver, I also have what's called my in basket within the application. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and click on my in basket so that approver can either approve from the email or they can approve from their in basket. So right here, I have my name checked off. And you'll see here I have what's called work items underneath my name, which gives me all of my invoices that are there for my approval. So to take a look at this, I'm going to double click on my invoice. Okay, and notice I still have that same errors exist message that denotes that I have to enter my distribution information. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The cool thing is, me as the approver, I can also check out and see the invoice image. So from the upper right-hand corner, I have this double left caret that's called contextual apps. If I open this up, I can scroll down here and my image is right here for me. So I can simply click on that image as the approver to pop it up and look at, show me the original invoice without having to look at a piece of paper. So I have this beautiful PDF file of my invoice image, which is great. I can take a look at that, say, yep, Cities of Fountain cleaning, looks good. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And I'm going to come back over to my invoice and I'm going to code that invoice. Notice again, my distribution line for my tax amount is there already for me, which is great. So I, as the approver, first level approver, just have to provide the rest of the distribution information. Now, another neat feature we baked into the solution for you guys is we used Configuration Console to insert the invoice routing category right into your screen here. The beauty of this is, as Mason mentioned earlier, this is based off of your company-department number, which is great for the person doing the coding because we've already provided most of that coding block for them. So what I'm going to do here, I know that I have 10-4020 as my company and department. I'm going to go ahead and click on the create action to create that other line of distribution. And I'm just going to come down to my code block and I just click into each field. My company is 10, my department is 4020. Now my account, I don't know, maybe I don't know what account I need as a coder and I'm probably not going to have them all memorized. I can use my find drop down here to do a search on my account. The nice part is I have nice filtering here. So if I know this is cleaning, it's a purchase service, and I want to code that to a purchase service account, I can simply type in my description field the word purchase and hit my enter key or click OK. And it's going to filter my account list to anything that contains the word purchase. In this case, I'm going to select 690-120 for other purchase services and click on the OK button. Okay, so my code block is complete. You'll notice here too, we have project, provider, and funding source. These are other dimensions that you can utilize for accounting in your application. In our test sandbox, we're not utilizing those right now. Notice here, I have remaining amount to be distributed. So the system's telling me how much do I have left to distribute, which is super helpful. So I'm just going to enter 700 in my dollar amount, and I'm going to click on save. Okay, so my distribution line is entered for my $700. I'm going to just hit my back browser. This is new to this application. It's not common in an ERP that we use our back browser, but that is the case in Cloud Suite. To travel between screens, oftentimes you're going to use your back browser to get back to the screen you were just on. Okay, so notice I'm back on my invoice. I took a look at the image. Everything looks good to go. I've done my coding, so I'm simply going to click on the Approve button to move that on to the next level approver.
Thank you, Sherry. I'm going to go ahead and take this back so I can show my screen here. And if we go ahead and we refresh this, we can see that that second level, since I'm that second level approver, this invoice has come into my in basket now. So now I can go ahead and open this up. We can see that unlike Sherry when she was originally coding it, I don't have any errors because Sherry, as a first level approver, handled all of the errors for me by putting in those distributions. So I can come over here, I can look at those distributions. I can also see the approval history. So I can see when the original AP processor submitted it for approval. I can see the first level when it was assigned and when it was approved. And then I can also see when it was assigned to myself as well. And this will live through the invoice process the entire time. So we'll always have access to this approval history in case we ever need to run any metrics or anything along those lines on how long it takes for an approval to happen. For me as a second level approver, all I'm going to do at this point, once I've done my due diligence, looking it all over, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Approve. And it's off. Then as an AP manager, it's going to, or as an AP processor, it will come back to me in a released status. So we can actually see this invoice right here, came back as released. And then it will be picked up the next time on the next payment run that's ran. And that's really it. That is kind of the main process, at least with Cloud Suite Financials. So let's, I apologize. Let me come back over here to our PowerPoint slide and kind of do a little bit of a recap. And then from there, we'll go ahead and open it up for some questions and kind of see what you guys have for us. So to recap, we can really change your guys' entire AP department structure and really bring it into the 21st century with this software. You saw exactly how easy Kofax ReadSoft Online was. The invoice image came in. We had to just validate a few little fields and we sent it immediately off to Cloud Suite. You saw that Sherry didn't have to touch it once it hit Cloud Suite Financials, but she did go ahead and click that Submit for Approval option. And if you guys would like, we can also automate that feature as well, just reducing another touch point that our AP staff has to look at. Once it's entered that Cloud Suite Financials, we were able to leverage the AP automation, and it just really changes the entire way invoice approval is done. You're no longer having to carry paper invoices to an office or intermail invoices back and forth, trying to keep track of who's the invoice with and have they signed it yet. We can immediately see exactly where the invoice process is, how long it's been sitting with certain approvers, and if we need to, we can also even immediately email those approvers right out of the software as well. So it really increases the accountability to making sure that everyone in the company is doing their part to help our AP staff out and make sure that we're getting our invoices paid on time. Finally, as you saw within that contextual app, Infor document management is going to store that image. And we can set up all sorts of different policies on that, on how long we want to keep those for, how long until they're archived, things along those lines. It's a complete ECM opportunity, and we can leverage that within Cloud Suite Financials to make sure that invoice image is always available anytime we want to view that image. Before I start answering some questions, I do want to talk that we do have RPI Tech Talks every Friday going on. So definitely keep your eye out for those. If you're wanting to hear a little bit more about this, and specifically a little bit more of an in-depth, both actually Sherry and I will be doing RPI show and tells on the 28th, 29th, and 30th of next week. So, and here are our times with that as well. And then finally, we got to talk about our greatest virtual show on earth. This is coming on May 14th. It's going to have all sorts of different presentations. It's going to be using a software that kind of allows you to walk around and go to different booths. And with all of these different booths, we're going to be doing different presentations. And I'll actually be presenting this exact demo along with some additional information the entire day. So make sure you come by and take a look at that. And it's going to be a great way to continually learn more information about automation. And at that point, are there any questions that we can answer for you guys? If you go down, there should be a little question box. And right there, you can just ask your questions, and I can see them over here on my other monitor. And kind of while we'll give it a few minutes here for questions to come in. One thing that we do want to touch on is we showed you guys a very simple solution today. And the design of that was so you guys could understand and begin to digest this process. If there are certain things that need to be done to accommodate your guys' companies, we most definitely can do that. We can leverage different OCR technologies to utilize more complex forms if we need to. If we need to do a more advanced approval process, we can do that completely within the matrix within CloudSuite Financials. So it really is kind of, we can tailor this solution to whatever you guys are needing specifically.
One thing I wanted to mention too, Mason, Mason and I have been working a lot together recently on new CloudSuite implementation projects, and it's wonderful to have the content process automation team as part of RPI consultants. So we have all of our functional consultants doing the functional side, and then we're working in conjunction with that CPA team, and they do amazing work. So really wonderful offering to be able to have all this and have it integrated and working. I've seen many successful projects come to completion, and CPA teams also are great at helping your company assess what application, what product would work best for your company based on your volumes. So we just demoed Kofax RSO for you here today that we're currently implementing for a customer. We've also used Kofax Total Agility. So there's a number of products out there, so we can help you figure out which one's the best one for your company as well.
Awesome. And it does look like we did have one question asked real quick here. And the question is, does the invoice need to be in a certain document format to be accepted by the system? This is actually a really good question. We can actually configure this to being however we would like it to. Typically, what we accept are going to be PDFs, JPEGs, and TIFFs. Those are the three most common that we set up as email acceptances. And then we also typically have a size, kind of a size variable that looks at that. And that will go through and discard any of like the email signatures that we don't need coming into an OCR because it doesn't have the invoice. But those are just the most common three. We can also take in Word documents. We've also taken in Excel documents in the past as well. So it's just whatever you guys are seeing is what we can kind of tailor it to make sure that we have a solution that works well for you guys. And that is kind of what Sherry was talking about there. Is we have a lot of different softwares that we work and support with. And the reason for that is because we want to find the perfect one that works for you guys.